Let me ask you something. What happens when the man she broke no longer exists? Not the man who begged, not the man who stayed up all night overthinking every word, not the man she knew would always be there waiting. That man died, quietly, without a funeral, and in his place stands someone colder, sharper, untouchable. See, she left thinking you'd spiral, that you'd chase, that your world would orbit her absence. She underestimated one thing: what a man becomes when he truly lets go, not out of spite, but out of clarity. The kind of clarity born from pain that scorches everything false, everything weak, everything that once needed her. You're not trying to win her back anymore. You're not playing the old game. You've stepped off the battlefield entirely, and that scares her more than anything, because now the power has shifted. You're not just different. You're unrecognizable. This isn't about becoming better to get her attention. This is about becoming so locked in, so at peace, that her attention means nothing. You're no longer the man waiting by the phone. You're the man she scrolls past at 2 a.m., wondering who you've become. And when she tries to figure it out, all she finds is distance, control, silence. That's the Stoic advantage. Stillness as dominance. The less you need, the more you hold. And that grip on your own mind, that's what haunts her now. If you're done letting your emotions write your story, if you're ready to become the version of yourself that doesn't flinch, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. My silence is my strength. Now, let's begin. Number 1. The silence that echoes louder than words. You want to know what really messes with her head? It's not the begging, it's not the tears, it's not the "I miss you" texts. It's the silence, pure, controlled, deliberate silence. When she expects chaos and gets calm, that's what shatters her illusion of control, because silence means you're no longer reacting. And in her world, your reaction was her grip. Your pain fed her sense of importance. She knew she mattered every time you reached out, every time you cracked, every time you tried to explain yourself. Even if she claimed she wanted space, what she really wanted was the attention that comes from being missed. But now there's nothing. No texts, no likes, no stories watched, no desperate attempts to make sense of things. And here's the part that stings the most, for her. It's not just the absence of your voice, it's the absence of your need. When a man goes silent, he communicates something primal. I've detached, I've recentered, I've reclaimed myself. She expected you to spiral, to blow up her phone, to chase, because that's what men do when they lose a woman they loved, right? But you've chosen the Stoic path. You've stopped trying to be heard, and that alone is deafening. This kind of silence isn't avoidance, it's presence. It's you sitting in your discomfort and owning it without broadcasting it. And when you do that, when you resist the pull to react, you flip the power dynamic on its head, because the moment you stop trying to change her mind, she starts questioning hers. That's the dark psychology behind true emotional discipline. The less you say, the more she hears. Every time she checks her phone and sees nothing from you, she starts wondering. And wondering turns into doubting. Doubting turns into regretting. She'll replay things, try to decode your silence, try to find you in your social media footprint. But the truth is, there is no footprint anymore. You've become the ghost she can't reach, not out of pettiness, but because you've outgrown the noise. You're not ignoring her. You've just stopped prioritizing someone who put you second. And that's what echoes louder than any words ever could. Number 2, you're not broken, you're reborn. Heartbreak doesn't destroy a man, it reveals him. You thought the pain would kill you, but what it really did was strip away the softness, the excuses, the illusions. You didn't break, you burned. And now what rises from that ash isn't a weaker version of you. It's the one that was always buried underneath the comfort, the hope, the fantasy. She saw your pain as proof that you were still hers. She thought the heartbreak would make you cling harder, but instead, you did the one thing she didn't expect. You embraced it. You sat with the emptiness. You didn't numb it. You didn't chase distraction. You let it cut you open so you could see what was rotting inside. This is the Stoic path, not to escape pain, but to master it. Because pain is a teacher that doesn't lie. It tells you where you were too soft, too dependent, too blind. And once you stop resenting it, you start using it. Every moment you spent wondering why she did it, how she could walk away, what you did wrong, was pressure that shaped something sharper inside you. You're not the man she left. That man needed her. This one doesn't need anyone, not in a bitter, fake way, but in a calm, grounded, unshakable way. Because now you see clearly, no one is coming to save you, and that's what makes you dangerous. She left thinking she was ending your story, but all she did was hand you the pen. And now you're writing something darker, stronger, cleaner. You're not spiraling, you're becoming. You're not licking wounds, you're building armor. This isn't the version of you that's trying to win her back. This is the version of you she'll never have access to again. Because when a man truly reinvents himself, he doesn't return to the people who buried him. He thanks them for the grave and keeps walking. Number 3. When you stop caring, she starts wondering. At first, she was certain. She thought you'd always care, always be there, always orbit her life like a loyal planet stuck in her gravitational pull. That belief gave her security, even after the breakup. She assumed your heart was still hers, even in silence. But the shift happens the moment you actually stop caring. Not pretending, not acting cold while secretly hoping she reaches out. No, when the care dies, when the attachment dissolves, when the emotional hook she once had in you rusts and falls away, that's when the dynamic flips. She goes from confident to curious, from smug to unsettled, because when you stop caring, your energy changes. You stop posting for attention. You stop walking around hoping to be seen. You move different, quieter, smarter, with purpose that has nothing to do with her. And the psychology of it? It's brutal. Human nature craves what it can't control. The moment she feels you slipping through her mental grip, she starts replaying everything. Why hasn't he reached out? Has he moved on? Is he seeing someone? And the longer you stay silent, the louder her mind gets. You become the mystery she can't decode, the closed book she thought she finished, but now realizes she only skimmed. This is attraction through absence. Stoic men don't chase what left them. They make their absence felt like a presence, not by playing games, but by focusing so ruthlessly on their own evolution that the world, including her, becomes background noise. It's not about revenge, it's about disinterest. And for a woman used to being the center of attention, your indifference is the deepest cut. She'll look for signs you still care. She'll bait reactions. She might even reach out. But your lack of response, your refusal to validate her again, is what makes her spiral. And the irony, the more she wonders, the less you care. Because once a man sees what he was clinging to wasn't real love, but emotional dependency, there's no going back. Number 4, the version of you she can't predict. Before, she had you mapped out like a routine. She knew how you'd respond. She knew what would trigger you, what would pull you back in, what words would make you fold. Your love was predictable, safe, familiar. But now, that version of you is gone, and what's left terrifies her. because now you've become unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. When a man becomes stoic, he stops broadcasting his emotions. He moves with strategy, not impulse. His days are structured, his mind is calm, his energy is focused inward. And that shift is subtle, but deadly. Because now, she can't read you. She can't manipulate what she can't understand. This is where dark psychology creeps in. People crave control, and when she had emotional leverage over you, she felt secure, even in the breakup. But now, you're not reacting how she imagined. You're not lashing out, not pleading, not doing anything that fits her script. And that makes you dangerous in a whole new way. You're evolving in silence, building in silence. She used to feel superior because she thought she had the emotional upper hand. But power doesn't live in emotional outbursts. It lives in composure. And now she's the one questioning her worth, because your focus has shifted. You're not invested in proving anything anymore. This version of you doesn't need to explain. You simply act. You move. You grow. And the more she tries to figure out your motives, the more confused she becomes. The man she used to know is gone, replaced by a disciplined, unreadable, self-contained force. The kind of man who doesn't flinch, who doesn't chase, who doesn't even acknowledge the storm, because he is the storm. And the truth, you're not playing games, you're just done being predictable. Number 5. Her power died the moment you took yours back. The moment you stopped seeking her validation was the moment everything shifted. She didn't lose you when she walked away. She lost you when you stopped giving her your energy, your attention, your emotional responses. That's when her power crumbled. See, most people don't realize how much control they hand over just by needing to be understood, to be chosen, to be liked. Every time you explained yourself, every time you apologized for being too much, too emotional, too invested, you gave her leverage. You made her the judge of your worth. But once you woke up and realized your value doesn't live in someone else's hands, you took back what she thought she could keep: control. That's what Stoicism teaches: freedom through detachment. When you remove the need to be validated, you become immune to manipulation. And when you become immune, you become dangerous. She can't guilt you. She can't bait you. She can't push the buttons that used to work. Because those buttons, they've been ripped out. You stopped explaining. You stopped defending. You stopped showing up in conversations that were designed to make you feel small. And now, she's left standing in the silence where your compliance used to be. That silence is where your power lives now. And here's what's wild. The moment you stop chasing, you force her to face her own choices. No more fallback plan. No more emotional safety net. You stopped being the man who gave endlessly and asked for crumbs in return. Now you give to yourself. You show up for yourself. And you expect nothing from her because you've seen how little she had to offer when it really counted. She used to believe she had emotional power over you. But now she realizes she was only powerful because you allowed it. And you don't anymore. Number 6. She remembers who you were. You don't. She's haunted by memories of you. Not because you were weak, but because you were real. You gave her your time, your energy, your loyalty, maybe even your future. She remembers the version of you who would have moved mountains just to be seen. The one who apologized first, who checked in even when she pulled away, who made excuses for her distance, her coldness, her silence. But you don't remember that man anymore. And that's what makes this shift so terrifying for her. Because now she's reaching for someone who doesn't exist. That man who needed her approval, who once broke down trying to understand what he did wrong. He's been erased, replaced by someone calmer, stronger, unavailable. This is what true detachment does. It doesn't just change how you act, it changes who you are. You stop identifying with the version of yourself that was built around her. You stop revisiting old conversations. You stop replaying moments trying to get closure, because you no longer care about who she thought you were. That version of you lived in her story. This new version, he's writing his own. Stoicism isn't about being cold. It's about letting go of what no longer serves you, including old identities, including the man who tolerated mixed signals, who mistook silence for mystery, who called inconsistency complicated. You stopped being that man the second you realized you deserved better and meant it. She'll try to remind you. She might come back with phrases like, "You've changed," or "You're not the same." But you won't flinch, because she's right. You have changed. And what scares her isn't who you've become. It's that you're no longer trying to be who she remembers. You've evolved. She stayed the same. And now you walk through your days without looking back, while she's stuck staring into the ghost of a man who no longer exists. Number 7. You became the man she pretended she wanted. She used to say she wanted a strong man, a confident man, a man with ambition, with boundaries, with purpose. But the truth is, back then, she didn't want that. She wanted someone easy to manage, someone emotionally available on her terms, someone who put her first, even when she made him last. And you gave her that. You gave her the version of yourself that was soft enough to mold, patient enough to wait, and blind enough to ignore the signs. But now, you've become the man she claimed she wanted, the one who leads with clarity, not confusion, who doesn't tolerate disrespect in the name of love, the man who can walk away without a second thought because he knows what he brings to the table. And now she feels the weight of that transformation. Because this version of you doesn't argue, he doesn't explain, he doesn't negotiate his worth. He knows what he wants, and he doesn't ask twice. That's what makes him high value. Not money, not status, but the refusal to let anyone play with his peace. She used to be able to read your emotions like a book. Now you're a locked vault. Before, you were emotionally available on demand. Now your time and energy are earned. She thought she wanted a king. But when you put the crown on and started acting like one, she didn't know how to handle it. This is what happens when a man embraces Stoicism. He no longer moves from emotion, he moves from principle. He's not concerned with being liked, he's committed to being respected. And respect doesn't come from being agreeable. It comes from knowing who the hell you are and never bending for someone who didn't value you the first time. She looks at you now and feels it. This is the version of you she said she wanted. But the irony, now that he's here, she knows she never deserved him. Number 8. You don't chase, you choose. There was a time when you would have done anything to keep her. You made excuses for her inconsistency. You rationalized her distance. You kept showing up for someone who barely showed up for you. But that's over now. Because the man you've become doesn't chase, he chooses. And that changes everything. You finally understand that chasing is rooted in lack. In the belief that you need someone else to feel whole. That you're not enough without their attention, their affection, their presence. But that's not who you are anymore. The man you are today doesn't beg to be seen. He doesn't audition for love. He doesn't need someone to pick him. He picks himself. This is where Stoic discipline hits hardest. You've trained yourself to control your desires, to pause before reacting, to think before speaking. You've stopped moving toward people just because you miss them. Now you ask, do they align with your values? Do they meet your standards? Do they add peace or drain it? You're not closed off. You're selective. You don't ghost because you're scared. You go silent because you've outgrown the game. The version of you that needed attention for validation is gone, and now your attention is currency. rare, valuable, not given out freely. And here's what she didn't expect: to be treated like an option. Because now you're not waiting for her to come around. You're not checking her socials. You're not wondering who she's talking to. You genuinely don't care because you're too focused on your mission to entertain people who walked away. When you stop chasing, you stop bleeding for people who never offered a bandage. You stop looking for meaning in people who only brought chaos. And when she sees that shift, that pure, grounded disinterest, it wrecks her. Because deep down, she knows this isn't rejection. This is you making a choice. And for the first time, she's not the one being chosen. Number 9. You walk away like you never looked back. There's a moment she wasn't ready for, the moment you didn't just leave, but disappeared. No grand exit, no final speech, no dramatic closure. You just moved on, quietly, cleanly, like she never had a hold on you. And that silence, that exit with no warning, it's what burns the most. Because people expect chaos when they hurt someone. They expect tears, anger, maybe even one last confrontation. But when you walked away without flinching, without even turning your head, she realized she never had the power she thought she did. You didn't beg. You didn't try to change her mind. You just let the door close and locked it from your side. That's what Stoicism looks like in motion. Not passive aggression, not games, just the calm, unshakable decision to protect your peace above all else. You realized that not everyone deserves closure. Not everyone deserves access to your healing process. Some people are lessons, and the lesson is this: never give a second chance to someone who made a choice to lose you the first time. You didn't walk away because you stopped loving her. You walked away because you started loving yourself more. You saw the pattern. You saw the emotional manipulation, the guilt, the mixed signals, the control. And instead of reacting, you rejected it all. Not with words, with absence. And now she's left with a question that has no answer. How did he just walk away like that? She'll replay it. She'll overthink. She'll hope for a sign that you still care. But there won't be one. Because when a Stoic man decides a path no longer serves him, he doesn't revisit it. He doesn't reminisce. He doesn't reopen the wound. He heals in silence and keeps walking. And that clean break? That's what echoes. Not the words you never said, but the peace she can't disrupt anymore. Number 10. The final blow. You found peace without her. This is the part she never saw coming. Not the silence, not the distance, not even the transformation. No, the final blow is the peace. The genuine, grounded peace that lives in you now. You're not faking it. You're not pretending to be okay just to get under her skin. You are okay. And that truth hits harder than anything you could have said. Because peace is the one thing she thought you'd never find without her. She believed she was the source of your happiness, your identity, your drive. She thought removing herself would leave you in pieces. And maybe for a while, it did. But what she didn't account for was your resilience. You didn't just bounce back, you elevated. You let the pain do its job. You sat with your demons, faced the parts of yourself you used to hide. You stopped chasing closure and started building discipline. You traded validation for vision. And now, you move with a stillness that can't be faked and can't be shaken. You don't talk about her anymore, not out of anger, but because she's simply not part of the conversation, not part of the mission. You're focused on your purpose, your growth, your path. And that's the part that destroys her ego. Realizing that her exit was the spark that made you level up. She thought she'd haunt you, but you turned the pain into peace, not bitterness, not revenge, just inner stillness. And when a man reaches that level of control, when he no longer reacts, no longer flinches, no longer needs, he becomes untouchable. That's the ultimate power. Not making her regret losing you, but becoming so grounded, so whole, so clear that her regret no longer matters. You didn't just move on. You outgrew the entire situation. And now, you've built a life where she's not even a chapter, just a footnote. You want to know what really breaks them. It's not anger. It's not revenge. It's not becoming someone better to prove a point. It's peace. Real, earned, unshakable peace. The kind of peace that only comes after you stop trying to make sense of people who never deserved your effort in the first place. She expected to be missed, expected to live rent-free in your head, but instead she watches you disappear into your purpose, into your silence, into a version of yourself she can't touch anymore. That's not just moving on. That's evolution. And here's the truth. You didn't lose anything when she walked away. You lost illusions. You lost distractions. You lost the part of you that tolerated less than you deserved. And in that loss, you found yourself. So if you're done explaining yourself, if you're done looking back, if you're ready to walk in full power and let the world adjust, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I've outgrown the story that kept me small. This is Stoic blessing. You've changed, and that's the scariest part for her.